Hey guys, so today I want to talk about how to gear your character when you first hit the end game. Now, in Path of Exile 2, the campaign is a lot different of an experience compared to the end game. For the most part, you can kind of crawl through the campaign by just upgrading your weapon, getting more damage, and kind of brute forcing your way through the game. But unfortunately, at the end game, it kind of changes to where you do have to start caring about your defenses and your character overall in order to start progressing in maps. Now, I know a lot of people are probably struggling to break through the first couple tiers of maps, probably because you don't really know how to gear your character and you're looking at all these guides about like, oh, here's my lightning spear build, here's my, I don't know, bleed Amazon build, and they just list their gear when they're super progressed. And you're like, huh, am I supposed to be expected to buy these gears right off the bat? And the answer is no, you're not. The gear that they have is definitely way more expensive than the budget that you have, and you need to find a way to gear your character up from the campaign into the end game so that you're not constantly dying and you can actually progress through maps, get more currency, and progress your character. So today I wanted to go over what you should do to do that and also demonstrate to you that you can do it with a fairly low budget. So I'm on my character, Hemi Boy, the level 87 Amazon that I had. It was a bleed Amazon. I pretty much scrapped it. It was my first character, right? But I have equipped it with a bunch of gear that would probably be similar to what your gear would look like coming off of the campaign. As you can see, my resists are terrible. I have a decent amount of fire resist, but cold resist, lightning resist, absolutely but terrible. Very abysmal. If you look at my gear, there's like no sockets. I'm still using like a old helmet that I had from like the beginning of the game. It's really not good. The only thing I have that is pretty good is the weapon that I actually did find this on my first character, on this character actually. So I wanted to show you guys how to progress your character and use the trade site to make sure your character is end game ready and able to go through maps. So first off, I am going to open up this notepad right here to give you a priorities list for what you should be looking for in gearing up your character. First things first, you want to make sure all your resists, except for chaos resist, right? Chaos resist is important, but it is something that you probably won't need to get until much later. You want to make sure your fire resist, lightning resist, and cold resist are all capped out or as close to capped out as possible. Next is going to be your armor, evasion, or energy shield. Make sure you know your character and what stats you're going to go for. Are you going to be an armor character, an evasion character, and an energy shield character, or maybe it's like an armor evasion or a hybrid, something like that, right? Make sure you know what gear that you're going to be looking for your character, for the stats that you're looking for. In my case, I'm an Amazon. For the most part, you're going to be either going evasion, energy shield, or evasion. I'm going to go with evasion because it's just a lot cheaper than evasion energy shield, and for you guys who are starting off the game, if you have not much currency, I would probably recommend you go for evasion as well if you're playing an Amazon, which probably a lot of you guys are, instead of evasion energy shield, which is a lot of like the end game builds and what people are using for their end game Amazons. So evasion, energy shield, or armor, depending on what you're going. Next is going to be life. Now, for the most part, even if you're energy shield starting off, you're probably not going to be playing chaos inoculation, which gets rid of your life. So your life is probably still going to be important in your survivability. Maybe if you're not a lich, but in general, even if you're running with energy shield, for the most part, you're going to be going life, especially early on in the end game. And then lastly, you're going to be taking care of damage. So the reason why I'd say damage is not as important, even though the best defense a lot of times is the best offense, in the end game of Path of Exile, there's just a lot of things that could really just one-shot you and kill you out of nowhere. And if you're not survivable enough, tanky enough, you'll find yourself a lot of times dying during maps, losing out on EXP, and then never making it further and progressing your character, which is definitely not good. So that's why I put damage as kind of the lowest. This is the order that you want to do it in, and make sure that you're getting all of this if you can, but of course in this priority. And then also something I want to mention is the order of priority for like which ones give you the most survivability in terms of like energy shield, evasion, armor, etc. It's going to go from chest armor is going to give you the most. Second is going to be helmet. Third is going to be boots, and fourth is going to be your gloves. So prioritize getting most of your energy shield, evasion, armor on this one, and then this one, and then your gloves and boots can kind of like be a little bit more lacking if you want to, skimp out or save some money. So let's hop on our character again. First, thinking about what we need to do. So as you can see here are resists. They're really bad. We really need a lot in lightning resist, and we need some in cold resist as well, and also a little bit in fire resist. Now we don't have runes on our gear, so we can socket those in to kind of make up for some of those missing resists. But for the most part, our gear is not very good anyway, so we're probably going to end up replacing most of this. But where I would start off first is, of course, taking a look at our gear and seeing where we can get the most value. So right now I can tell you off the bat, our boots, abysmal. This is a good leveling boot, but in the end game, unfortunately, it's just not really going to cut it. Same with this helmet. Pretty much gives nothing. Leveling up, you probably use this just as like a unique you found, and now in the end game, you really need to change it because these two don't have any resist on them, as you can see. Everything else we have, I have a resist on my necklace, I have resist on my rings, right? Even though this one doesn't have resist on it, the 27% fire resist does give us resist. Also, our gloves do need a little bit of work as well. It does give us a little bit of health, but it's really not useful. So right now, looking at our gear and our survivability, and also there's our shield, it gives us some life, gives us some fire resist, pretty good for survivability. Also gives us some stats too, which is pretty important for leveling up your character and getting the right gems and requirements. So if you look at our character, right, the areas where we can improve the most, the pieces of gear that have pretty much zero survivability on them are our helmet, our gloves, and our boots. So those are going to be the ones that we're going to upgrade first. So looking at our gear right now, we mostly need cold resist, lightning resist, and fire resist, right? Because we have some fire resistance here and some fire resistance here. We have a little bit on our belt as well, but for the most part, right, that's what we're going to upgrade. So let's go and head off over onto the trade site. This is going to be the trade site, and this is where you're going to be starting to look for your equipment. So right now, as I mentioned earlier, we are looking for gloves, we are looking for helmet, and we are looking for boots. Out of all three of those, I would say that it's probably going to be easiest to look for something for your helmet or your gloves, depending on your character. Sometimes, like for example, I would say Amazon is pretty important for a physical Amazon to have flat attack on your gloves. So that might take a little bit away from your survivability there. So because of that, I'm going to start looking for the helmet. And we're going to go do that right now. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to go evasion. So we're just going to go look for a helmet first, type in helmet here. And then we're going to want to look for an evasion helmet. So let's type in 1 for minimum because we always want to have some evasion. And we don't really care about armor or energy shield. So there's that. So, sorry, that's not minimum, max. Max 0 here, max 0 there. Okay. There are ways to search for stuff that are, a little bit more complex and probably a little bit better than the way that I'm showing you right now. But I would say that if you're at this point of like just trying to figure out what your gear is, those are probably a little bit too complicated. And what I'm talking about specifically is weighted sum searching. So if you're interested in weighted sum searching to like get really down to the nitty gritty of like maximizing your search potential, go ahead and watch the video that I link in the description below. I think it's by a guy named Nex. I thought he had a really good explanation of it. But for now, we're just going to go very, very simple. This is, again, not the best way to do it, but probably the easiest and most efficient way to do it if you're not really understanding the game. So put 1 in evasion here because we want evasion, 0 in armor and ES. Now, the next thing that's very important is level. When you are starting off in the end game, you're likely going to be around the early 60s. So that's another thing to keep in mind. You don't want to break the bank right now because you're still going to be able to upgrade your gear over time. So you might want to wait for 68, 72, 78, 80. Like you're going to have better gear later. So you don't want to spend too much money right now. So right now, let's just put in a max of 65. Let's say that's my level, right? We're level 65. So that way we don't have to search for stuff that is higher level. We don't get like stuff we can't wear. So there we go, right? Let's go and look for our gear. As I mentioned, here are our priorities. Resists, okay. Armor, evasion, energy shield, which we have taken care of. Life, and then helmet doesn't really give you much damage, so you don't really care about that. So we're going to go and look for the resists and life right now. So first off, we'll type in maximum life. I would say in general for helmet, probably starting off around 100 health is a pretty good place to start off with in the end game. You can probably get something better, but that will just kind of take a look at what the price range is from there. So we'll go for helmet, 100 life, and then let's go for resist, right? Earlier I said that we wanted to have fire resist, cold resist, lightning resist. So those are our most important things. But in general, we just kind of need resists overall. So we're going to do a count here. Count basically means that you want to have at least X amount of these. So first, let's put in lightning resist, cold resist, fire resist, right? So when I put a count here, that means I'll want either one of these, two of these, or all three of these. So the reason why we do a count is we want any combination of these. At least two of them is what I'm going to do. So lightning resist, starting off in the end game, I think 20 is a fairly good number to try to get a decent amount of life or resists without breaking the bank. Let's search up what we can get, right? So things are fairly cheap right now. We can get stuff for 1 exalt with over 100 life with like 30 something resists each. That is kind of amazing. So look at this, 168 maximum life, 39 cold resist, 23 lightning resist. Pretty dang good. So these are like some very, very good options that you can just get for one exalt. Let's see if we can be a little bit more strict with our search, given how cheap everything is, right? So maybe we'll bump it to 30, and then we'll do like maybe 140 life, right? I think 1 exalt per piece is like something that you're probably going to shoot for and aim for. If you can do that, that would be ideal and perfect, especially when you're first going into the end game. Again, you're going to be upgrading your gear soon. So let's just look for something that is very, very minimum requirement. So personally, right now, you can kind of search and scroll through these, but I would say that this one looks really good. This gives you an okay amount of evasion, right? Not the best. You get a good amount of maximum life. You get stats, which will help you with your gem requirements. And you also get some double resist with pretty high resists. Now, the one thing that we do mention is that we do have quite a bit of fire resistance, which isn't going to be the worst thing for us to buy something with fire resist, because if you look at this ring right here, which is giving us a pretty good bit of fire resist, right? We're probably not going to want to use this ring at the end of the day anyways, because all it provides is that fire res, and you could get a lot more resistances on your ring in general. So, and then your necklace is kind of like whatever, right? So it's actually not terrible to just buy this, even though it has more fire resistance than you would ideally like for your character. Let's go see if we can whisper this guy and get it. So you're going to click here on direct whisper. It will whisper the guy, and hopefully he responds and will sell us that helmet. Okay, so as per usual trade fashion, he did not respond. So that's fine. We move on to what we think is the next best thing, right? This one is actually pretty good as well. Let's see down below. This one's 154 life with 39 lightning, 31 cold. That's also pretty good. Provides us a little bit of crit chance as well. All right. This one's kind of interesting too. Let's try this one and see if the guy responds. Hopefully he does. It's a little bit harder when it comes to like these 1 exalt, like cheaper items, because everybody's in the middle of mapping. So they might not want to leave their mapping progress to come and sell you like a cheaper item. So it's going to be a little bit tough for that reason to find something that you want for the right price. I'm going to try to keep everything to about, oh, there we go. He now messaged us. Perfect. So we can go to this guy and buy that item for 1 exalt. There it is, 1 exalt. Important to say thank you to your trader every single time, even if they're not an English speaker. Most people know TY as a global term. Be nice to your traders, guys. So there it is. We got our first piece of upgraded equipment. And you can see now our cold is a lot higher. Same with our lightning. So we're going to keep working from here on out. Our chest armor is actually, in my opinion, pretty decent. It has our evasion rating. It has really good life, has some resists, right? It's something you probably don't need to upgrade for a little bit. But like I said, boots and gloves right now. Let's go with boots. That might be one of the things that ends up being a little bit more expensive. But right now in the league, movement speed, I'd say anything below 35 is not that expensive. But depending on where you are in the league, you might want to change up how much movement speed you're looking for. So let's go to the site and look for boots next, because that might be one of the more pricey things, especially depending on when you are playing in the league. So let's change this up to boots. Again, same thing, evasion 1, armor 0, maximum energy shield 0. This time, the boots life is probably going to be a little bit lower. You're probably not going to get as high life on your boots. And then let's add in movement speed as something that we want required. Let's say, for the most part, if you're first starting into the end game, you might want to go for like 25 movement speed. 30 might be cutting a little bit more expensive, right? See, look, we're starting to get into 5 exalts, 10 exalts. So maybe you want to go with like a 25 movement speed, right? And then this is going to be a little bit more reasonable. Now, let's see here. This guy, fire resist, cold resist, those are our 2 highest resists. So if you run in this situation, right, you don't really need that much fire resistance. You don't really need that much cold resistance anymore. Maybe we consider taking fire resistance and cold resistance down to 20 and then prioritizing lightning resistance, right? So that way we could, try to get like a high lightning resistance roll with lower cold resist fire resistance and see how that works out. It looks like we're pretty lacking on lightning resist on these rolls. So, maybe what we do is we shift over to gloves instead and then see if we can get some more lightning resistance there. So let's take out the movement speed. We'll go for gloves. Again, like I said earlier, for Amazon, I probably want some physical damage to attacks. So we're going to do this. This is going to be an average amount for your physical damage. So maybe let's go for like 10 average damage. Does that work out? It's okay. Still, this guy's AFK. I don't really want to pay 5 for this, so maybe we try to take these down, right? Maybe we'll take all of these down. And maybe we might even go for 1 resist, because our other stuff is, we can get some good resist elsewhere for a pretty decent price. Okay, so this one right here doesn't seem like a terrible deal. So 1 exalt, right? We get physical damage, we get pretty decent maximum life, and we get lightning resist. Oh wait, this one looks like perhaps even better because it gives us a little bit of attack speed as well. Less evasion, but more attack speed. Evasion is important, but like I said earlier, the resists are going to be your top priority, and we need a lot of lightning resist. So either of these choices aren't terrible, but this one has a higher physical damage, and it also gives dex. Again, stats are very important. So we will go and get this guy a whisper, and hopefully he responds to us and trades us these gloves for 1 exalt. If not, then we're gonna have to go and try to trade somebody else, and there we go. We got a response. Nice. So we are now 2 exalts into upgrading our gear, and we're honestly almost done with upgrading the armor. Like I said, the most important things are going to be your resists, and then going to make sure your stats are correct, right? So here it is, gloves, 1 exalt, TY again, and then we get to go back into our hideout. Boom. Okay, so now we have lightning resist taken care of. We are a lot more lightning resist taken care of. We have cold resist and fire resist as well, pretty high up there. So honestly, if you're progressing through maps, this is kind of like enough, but let's just, like I said, right, get as close to or as as close to 75 or at 75 for our resist. And again, we've only spent 2 exalts, right? We can spend more money on other things. So looking at our gear right now, like I said, boots are going to be the next thing, given how we are pretty much almost done with our gear, right? Like, honestly, your rings and stuff, yeah, they add damage. Like, if you really wanted to, you get for Amazon specifically, for physical Amazon, you're going to probably want some flat damage on these. So we could probably upgrade these later. But for now, boots are going to be our last thing to really round out our resists and make sure we are pretty survivable and tanky for our maps. Let's go back to boots, right? We had a little bit of trouble with boots earlier, so let's try that again. So movement speed 25, and we'll change this back to boots. Let's see here. For 20 resists, right? Let's do, and we want 2 resists. Gloves, resist aren't as important, but I'd say your boots, you're probably going to want something more like this. Okay, so we have a 211 evasion rating boots. which isn't that bad. Something to note is that boots gloves are going to give you the least like erasure rating energy shield armor, so it's not that surprising to find like very low ones there. So boots wise, this is actually looking like a pretty good deal. 30 fire res, 37 cold res, 128 maximum life. There's quite a few of these. I mean, yeah, for one exalt, actually, there's only 3 of them. So if you wanted to splurge a little bit more, feel free to get something better. But like I said, I'm going to try to keep myself to a 1 exalt budget for every piece. This one doesn't look that bad. So let's go ping this guy and see if he gets back to us. Cross our fingers that he does. If he doesn't, we will try the next one. Okay, so he's not getting back to us. That's totally fine, right? We have 2 more other choices. Next one on the priority list, I'm going to take this one. Even though it is corrupted, this is only a 1 exalt item. You don't really care about that. And in terms of the survivability for like life and resistances, this one does have more. So you're probably going to get more value out of this. So let's pick this guy and see if he responds. And it's helpful that these guys posted their stuff kind of recently too. That means they're kind of looking like they're there and not like away or something like that. Maybe, hopefully, we'll get something from these guys. Okay, that guy's not responding. So we'll try this last one and hopefully he responds. And if he doesn't, then you can either say, okay, we'll move on another piece of gear. Or you can say, okay, well, I've only spent 1 exalt for each thing. Maybe we bump it up to like 2 or 3 exalts. That's totally fine. Again, something that people do is like they might be in the middle of mapping and a 1 exalt trade just isn't worth it for them to come out of the map. So, you know, maybe like a 2, 3 exalt, something like that. Even if they're like it's not that good of a deal. Oh, there we go. We got one. Cool. So that is going to be the last guy who we pinged. And again, that is a 1 exalt item. So let's go and head over to him and trade him for those boots. There we go. 1 exalt, get those boots. Nice. Boom. And we got our boots. Okay, let's go back to our hideout. Okay, so let's look at our resist and everything. We are looking very dandy. Oh yeah, also, I forgot to whisper him. Thank you. Thank you. But yes, we are looking very good on our resist right now for both fire and cold. Lightning is our last one that we need to take care of, and we can probably get that on our rings or our amulet, somewhere like that. This one is actually looking pretty good. We have pretty high lightning resistance, so we don't want to lose that. 6 to all elemental resistance, we're kind of fine on that. We don't really need that too much. Oh, this guy sent us a whisper after the fact. I'm sorry, dude. You just took a little bit too long. You lost your deal there. But yeah, so it looks like, in my opinion, right, there's 2 places that we could probably get the most value off of. Again, our chest armor, I'd say, is okay. It's not terrible. Again, you do have pretty good life on there. Evasion rating is pretty low, so you can choose to do your chest armor if you wanted to, and that might be one of the better choices. But for that one, we have to get a pretty decent cold roll and also a lightning roll, which might be a little bit more expensive. Or we could go with the lowest hanging fruit, which is our ring as well. The chest armor would be probably the better upgrade in my opinion, because you're going to get both your evasion and your resist and your life out of the way. So that's probably where I'll go, actually. Let's go for a chest armor, right? At this level, you're probably looking for a chest armor around like 500 plus evasion. Maybe you can get a little bit more. Let's see, maybe like 600 evasion, right? Again, let's go for higher maximum life. Our chest armor can roll a lot more maximum life. So maybe we'll go like 170 life, right? And then again, we are going to want to have lightning resists as the one that we are looking for. So let's go try to get like as high lightning resist as possible. And then we will change this over to body armor. And oh yeah, before I forget, actually, we do need some cold resistance. So let's go put that in as well. So cold resistance, right? Our current armor has like what? 35, I think, right? 35% cold resist. Yes, that is correct. So if we're doing math, right? If we're mathing here, we can take a body armor with 20, so 35 minus 10 is 77. So that's 25. We can minus 2 more, so that's 23. So we can get about 23 cold resist on our chest and we'll still be fine. Or we can, you know, again, get it on our rings and things like that. But let's just go and do the minimal requirement of cold resist 23 and see what we get here. One exaltees for all these. Okay, so about 600 evasion. Honestly, I think at this level we could probably go to like 800 evasion maybe, and we'll still be fine. Yeah. What I'll say is, your chest armor is going to be providing you with the most survivability in terms of like your evasion rating. So maybe spending a little bit more in chest armor isn't the worst thing in the world. But again, let's go stick to our one exalt budget. Maybe we'll take out the cold resist and then we'll find a better ring with some cold resist. So let's actually go and skip over to the ring and we'll find something with, fire resist and cold resist, because this is gives us some fire resist right there. And then let's see if we could find something for one exalt there, and then we'll come back to the chest armor. And if that's the case, then we could maybe just like take out the cold resist on our chest armor and then do it that way. So let's go for rings, right? Later on, your rings, you probably don't need the survivability on life. But for now, since we're in early game, let's just still worry about the life. Let's go for 100 life. As I mentioned earlier, Amazon, we probably want some physical damage to attacks. Maybe, let's see, put 5 right there or something like that. And then let's go for cold resistance, right? Actually, let's see, yeah, cold resistance. You know what? Why don't we do this, right? Let's do a count. And there's a better way to do this, obviously. But let's just do a count for cold resistance, fire resistance, and then we can also do cold resist on our implicit, because these things up here at the top are implicits. Fire resistance, and we'll go there. We're going to want 2, and then this one has 27 fire resistance. We have plenty of fire resistance, actually, so maybe we actually just even take that off. So we'll go at 1 of each of these, and then we will go search for cold resistance, which on our chest armor, we have 30. As I mentioned earlier, I think we need like 23, right? So let's go for 23, 23. Let's see if we can get something there for 1 exalt. Oh, wow. Yeah, we can definitely get something pretty decently cheap for here. Maybe we get a little bit more physical damage. How about 10 physical damage average? Is that possible? Ooh, okay, we're cooking. 15? Okay, so there's one choice here for 15 physical damage. Gives us 31 cold resist, 11 all resist, decent maximum life. Now, there's this kind of situation where you have to think like, do I want to get more damage or do I want to kind of get more life? Honestly, 20 something more life is probably not going to benefit us too much. So let's just go and whisper this guy and see if he'll sell it to us for 1 exalt. Okay, looks like he's not selling it to us. So let's go and drop that back down to like 10 average damage. We have a lot more choices there when we do that. So here it is, 1 exalt choices. Let's see here. This is a cold resistance ring with fire resistance, so we're kind of making up for some of the fire resistance that we lost earlier. Gives us some fire damage, which is not very useful. Let's see here. 101 maximum life. These are all about 101, 106. Well, we're in Amazon, so actually accuracy is not that bad. So this one has some attributes, double resists. Let's go ping this guy. This actually doesn't look terrible for 1 exalt. Okay, it looks like he's not getting back to us. This was the guy that we pinged earlier, so let's try the next one. This one looks the roll is not as good here for attack, so this one might be a little bit better. Same life with cold resistance. It has a little bit of rarity. Life per enemy killed, not terrible for survivability. Let's go ping this guy and see if he gets back to us. Okay, it looks like he's not getting back to us either. Let's try the last guy then. Okay, so that guy didn't get back to us. We can now make the decision again. Maybe we up our prices, like, we go for something a little bit more expensive because those is going to be more incentivized to come out and trade us. Or we can just like, okay, well, we can wait, or we can say, well, let's go and just change things up to see if we can get something less expensive. Honestly, right now for our ring, it's kind of like we're really hitting the bare minimum right now. I'm gonna be honest. Getting anything below this is kind of not that great in my opinion. So it's not going to be worth your 1 exalt. So I don't want to break my 1 exalt rule. So you know what? Screw it. Let's go and change our stats a little bit here. So Maybe, man, I really don't want to take the physical down. Let's try one more search and see if we get any new posts. Yeah, it looks like we're kind of stuck here. I'll just maybe whisper them one more time each, and then if they don't get back to me, I'm just going to just move on. Oh, okay. So we got our response back. Thank goodness. Okay. Trade him. Boom. There it goes. TY. All right. Awesome. And let's head back to our hideout. Okay, so with that, we have our ring in place. We still have a good amount of fire resistance. We have a lot of cold resistance, but like I said, right, we're going to be replacing our chest armor, and we'll be trying to find something with lightning resistant there. Okay, let's see if we can get something like this. Okay, so 600 is very reasonable. Oh, there's an 800 one here. So maybe we can bump up our number to like 800 and see how that goes. 800, still looking 1 exalt, lots of 1 exalts. Maybe we bump it up to 900. Okay, maybe 1000. Okay, 1000 looks like we're kind of stretching it. And again, you're probably going to upgrade this armor pretty soon afterwards. So you don't need anything super, super crazy right now. So just look for good deals and things that you can get quickly. And yeah, this one's looking pretty good. Dexterity, high lightning resistance, and high life. So maybe we go for this one. I'm a little bit tempted for this one just because this is a double res chest armor, which again, in the future, it means that you probably will, not need to upgrade your chest armor as soon. But chest armor, you're going to get a lot more evasion off of it anyways later on. So you might not want to spend that much on it. So I mean, it's only 2 exalt, but still, let's just say we're going to keep ourselves to our 1 exalt budget, right? Let's keep ourselves there. So let's just ping this guy, and hopefully he responds. There we go. We got a response. And we are going to go and trade him for that chest armor. And then now, after we have balanced out all our survivability, right? Then we can focus on damage. And boom, there it is. We have our character. We're all set and ready to go. Again, if you want to do a little bit more, right? We went for the rings, we went for gloves, we pretty much replaced everything. If you want to get more stuff on your ring, you can do that. And you want to get some more stuff on your amulet, you can do that. But for the most part, I'd say if you're just starting off mapping right now, this is a very, very capable character to get you up to like maybe like tier 5, tier 10 maps just off of this. So yeah. Hopefully this helped you guys out in figuring out how to upgrade your character and go forward in your mapping process. Again, weapon-wise, you probably don't need anything much more than what you were using for your campaign character. But if you do want to get something more, then, use the same methods that I just taught you guys right now for looking for your gear, right? Just look for the most you can for, like, let's say you're bleed Amazon, you probably want the most physical damage possible, so look for high physical damage there and call it a day, right? So that's about it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, here is the priorities list that you must take advantage of and make sure you're using. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know down in the comment section below. And as well as you have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything down there. Also, I stream every single night on twitch.tv/MeSoXtrue. So if you have questions you want to ask me live, you can do that there as well. And finally, if you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting the sub button. It's the best way to support the channel and what I do here, and it's completely free. So hopefully I get to see you guys on my stream, but if not, hopefully I'll see y'all on the next video. All right, guys, peace.